Okay. We have an argument between Reb Meir and Hanini ben Gamaliel that one states a condition, you have to state both sides of the condition. Now, it's referred to as Tanai Kofel. Reb Meir says yes. Reb Hanini ben Gamaliel says no, that if it could be inferred from the first part of the condition, one doesn't have to say the second side of the condition. That's Reb Hanini ben Gamaliel. It's considered whatever you say, if it can be inferred, it's sufficient. Reb Meir says no, there's Gezer Sakosov, that the only time a condition is considered a condition, even though it could be inferred, you have to state both sides of the condition. Okay? So the Gemara asks, we find that after Cain killed Hevel, Cain killed Abel. So what does Hashem say to him? He asks him, where's your brother? He says, Hashem, Ochi Anochi, and my brother's keeper. So Hashem says to him, to Cain, he says, Im Tetiv Seis. Vim Lo Seitiv La Pesachatus Rovetz. If you better your ways and you do tshuva, then you'll be rewarded. But Im Lo Seitiv, if you're not going to better your ways, La Pesachatus Rovetz, that the evil is lurking at the entrance, meaning you're going to go into the oblivion. She said, too, if you do good, you do tshuva, it'll be good for you. And if you don't do tshuva, then you're going into the oblivion. So the question is, what does he have to say? The second side of the statement, if you do good, you'll be rewarded. So what's the inference? And if you don't do good, you committed murder. That means you're going into the oblivion. You'll be destroyed. So evidently, you see, that whenever you say something, that unless you speak out both sides, it's not contingent on what you said. Otherwise, it's totally superfluous, the second half of the statement. El Reb Chanina Lomali. So Reb Chanina says, no, it cannot be inferred. The second part of what Hashem said cannot be inferred from the first part. Why? If you do good, then you will receive reward. Vim lo seitiv. But if you don't do tshuva, you will not pay properly. Lo igra v'lo dina. You won't receive reward, and there's no punishment. There's no reward and punishment. There's only reward. Komash malon. So therefore, Hashem says, no, not only will you not be rewarded, but you're going to be punished. That means you can go into the oblivion. Therefore, the second part of the statement cannot be inferred from the first. Therefore, Hashem had to say the second side of the statement for that reason. No, this is not the source. Their argument is tonight b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain. Right? We said seemingly this would support Reb Meir. On that, Reb Chanina says no. It's not difficult. He doesn't have to respond. This is not the basis for his position. Bishlam Reb Meir Hainu Chsiv. Now we find Eliezer Eved Avram was commissioned by Avram to be an agent to locate a wife for Yitzhak. And he actually imposed an oath upon him. He had to take an oath. And what was the oath? That he should not take from the daughters of Canaan, and he should take only from his family. And he says, and if you're not able to locate that wife, or the girl will not be willing to come, then you're free of my oath. You're not bound by my oath any longer. Okay? So he says, the oath is to take, and if you don't find, then you're free. You're free from the oath. You're not bound any longer. It's understood. It's inferred. The oath is you should locate a wife. So, of course, if you can't locate, it's understood. And you're free of the oath. The oath is binding only. What does he have to say? The second, what did Avram have to say to Eliezer? You're going to be free of the oath. Because I would have thought, let's say he comes and locates the girl, and she wants to come. But the family is not willing to release her. Maybe he's bound by the oath. If you locate the wife from my family, the girl from my family, you have an obligation to bring her back. Even if it's in what? The family is opposed to it. Stop. No. That everybody has to be in agreement. The girl has to be in agreement, and the family has to be in agreement. So what do you have to say? Add, and if the woman doesn't want to come, why isn't that a sufficient first thing he said? The family wants to give over the daughter as a wife. She's not interested in coming. So maybe Nesi Bal Korcha. You should take her against her will. Bring her as a wife for Yitzchok. See, you say, it's understood. It's understood. The answer is she's a katana. Rivka was a katana. So if she's a katana, it's irrelevant whether she wants. Right? The answer is no. Avram Avinu said, I'm not interested in that. We're not interested. I'm not interested. She has to be fully in agreement, even though legally speaking, the parents could actually impose it upon her. If the parents have to impose it, I'm not interested in that kind of wife for my son. She has to be willing to come. It's interesting because you take a look in Rashi and Chumash. When Rivka said, she says, I'm going, even if you'd be opposed. That's what she said to her family. Factually, they weren't opposed. You know, they said, Mi Hashem yotzad dover. They said, since with all the signs what happened, Mi Hashem yotzad dover. It's clearly, this is from God. But when she said, I'm going, she said clearly, even if you'd be opposed, I'd go in either case. But then it would be a problem. Because based on what he said to Eliezer, in terms of his obligation, if the family's opposed, you have no obligation to bring her. But she said, theoretically, even if you'd be opposed, I'd still go. Regardless whether you agree or don't agree. Right, right, exactly. No, you would think maybe he would be obligated by the oath. Though she's agreeable to come. That's not kidnapping. I'm not. A daughter is, see, within Torah, a girl until she becomes an adult is under the jurisdiction of parents. Rivka, now, what determines an adult or a minor? The Gemara says that if a person converts as a minor, right? And Bezdin converts that minor, correct? Let's say a person adopts a child today, a non-Jewish child, right? So they undergo the conversion process. So what happens? Why is the child converted as a minor? So Gemara says, because since it's meritorious to be a Jew, you're able to bring about that state unbeknown to the person. So the child's unbeknown to the person. But when the child becomes an adult, you have to inform the child that he's converted, and now he has a right either to accept or reject. Correct? And if the child at that age, now as an adult, says, I'm not interested, retroactively, it was never a conversion. Right? That's the halacha. That's what we rule. Is a Jew, then the Jew. Nothing has to be done. Then retroactively from the time, because then it's like a person, let's say, buys a gift on behalf of a person unbeknown to him. And afterwards, regardless of value, the person says, I'm not interested. So what's the whole idea? Of course, we could say with certainty, the person would want you to be his agent. Right? That's the rationale. That's Zochel B'Shul B'Fonov. Schimitam Shlichus. Because we could say with certainty, if you would have known what I want to do on your behalf, you would have agreed that you should be my agent. Now I'm telling you, I wouldn't have agreed. So if you're real, you wouldn't be, so you can't represent me against my will. Therefore, the original act of acquisition means nothing. So similarly here, if the child, as an adult now, says, I was never interested, so the act of the Bezdin is not, they can't represent the child. Therefore, the act of conversion retroactively is not an act of conversion. That's the Gemara in Ksubis. Okay? So now, what's in regard to a Jew, what's an adult, what's a child? So the Gemara says that we had it in two locations that shiurin chatzitzin mechitzin halachim mishbisinai. How do you know when you eat the kazayis matzah, it has to be a kazayis? Maybe Yotze, it says achila, right? It's a mitzvah. The erev tochlu matzos, right? The 15th you have to eat matzah. How do we know it's a kazayis? How do when it says lo sochal nevela, right? That you're not permitted to eat nevela. How do we know it's a kazayis? Only then are you subject to malchus. How do we know? The answer, that's shiurim. Halach lo mishbisinai. How do you know mechitz is 10 tvachim? right? Also, that's mechitzin. A mechitzin, 10 tefachim, halacha l'Moshe Sinai. How do we know, the Rosh says, how do we know a child becomes an adult? A boy at the age of 13 and a girl at the age of 12? That's shurim. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. That's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. But that halacha l'Moshe Sinai is only for a Jew, not for a non-Jew. What determines adulthood or being a minor? Being able to discern between right and wrong. If a child has sufficient intelligence, understanding the difference between right and wrong, and has a sense of being responsible, that child is considered an adult. Even at the age of what? Even at a younger age. It could be 5 years old. Person's precocious, child's precocious. By 9, every child, even an average child, 9, that's an adult for a non-Jew. So therefore, when we speak about that, non-Jews obligated to Shev Mitzvah Bnei Noach, and we say as a Rosh Zumi Sosan, Merces and Sanhedrin, that if you violate the Shev Mitzvah Bnei Noach, the liability is the death penalty. From the age of 9 forward, that's considered an adult for a non-Jew. For a Jew, it's only at the age of 13, regardless of how brilliant the child may be or precocious, it's irrelevant. Adulthood is the age of 10 or 12. We said that at the age of 9 you could tell them already. Now it's interesting. We once spoke out when we studied Sanhedrin. Rameir Simcha Or Sameach. The Or Sameach says this. People today, they're so far removed from Or Sameach, they think Or Sameach is the yeshiva in Israel, Or Sameach. Or Sameach is named after Rameir Simcha because he has a work on Rambam called Or Sameach. So the Or Sameach says, Rameir Simcha says that, says something very interesting. Over there, there's an exclusion. It says that if a child commits bestiality, he's not put to death. Tosa asks, what do I need a pasuk? It's understood. He's a minor. Would I think that you're going to put a child to death as a minor? Right? So what do I need an exclusion to say? You don't. He's a minor. Minor has no liability. So Tosa says a dochik. Says a dochik. Tosa says something. What's the halacha if a person commits bestiality with an animal? You're supposed to kill the animal. Right? Because it's kolon. Because whatever the Mishnah says over there. Because it's a disgrace to have the animal that a person was involved in bestiality. So the child too, you'd say, a child commits it, it's like the animal. That's what Tosa says. Rameir Simcha says something differently. He says something interesting. He says like this. He says, you have Shev Mitzvah Bnei Noach. So Shev Mitzvah Bnei Noach applies to even the non-Jew. We don't differentiate. What happened at Sinai? We have additional mitzvahs. We have additional mitzvahs. So, let's say a minor is Mechal Shabbos. When he becomes an adult, does he have to do tshuva for the Chil Shabbos he did as a minor? Definitely not. Doesn't have to do tshuva. Why? Because pre-Sinai, there was no such thing as Shabbos. So the obligation of Shabbos only came about only from the age of 13 going forward. Kashrus. It's only from the age of 13. What about any one of the Shev Mitzvah Neoch? Let's say a child at the age of 9, he committed adultery. Right? The Gemara says at the age of 9, a child's bia is a bia. So to put him to death, there's a Gzer Sakosov that an adult, you only put an adult, not a minor. But in terms of an act of Isur, he committed adultery. That's considered an act of adultery. Except there's an exemption because Sinai said liability is only from the age of 13. Rameir Simcha says he has to do tshuva. Because that act is an act of what? It's an act of adultery. And if he ate Evim and Achai, since Evim and Achai is one of the Shev Mitzvah Noach, although there's no liability, because Torah says that the only liability is only from the age of 13, but as doing an act of Evim and Achai, he has to do tshuva when he becomes an adult. So that's how he answers it, Rameir Simcha. I would think that since he was involved in the act of bestiality, it's considered an Aveira. And because of the seriousness, maybe he should be put to death. Therefore, I need an exclusion to say, no, it's no different. Anything else that regarding liability, it's only from the age of 13 onward. That's how Rameir Simcha answers Tosa's question. Okay? So I'm saying, Rivka, at the age of 3, she ready? You see, she's fully intelligible girl. I mean, she was like a woman. Right? She drew the water. She literally functioned like an adult. So if that's the case, she's not under the jurisdiction of her parents any longer. It's only the minor who's truly a minor. But for a non-Jew, What determines minor or an adult? It's based on one's intellectual capacity. Her intellectual capacity, she was an adult. They were not, of course, they're non-Jewish. They weren't Jewish. As a result of that, so you say, so why did she say? So it's not kidnapping. So what did Avraham Avinu says? If the family is opposed, you're released from my oath. There's a little bit of a lumdus, what I'm saying now. Here, David. So why? The answer is Avraham Avinu kept kol haTorah kula kodim shenitnu. You got it. So basically, Shitoso, he says no. It has to meet the criteria of post Sinai, even though it's not kidnapping because factually she's an adult. But based on my approach, in what context are we establishing Klal Yisrael as if the Torah was given? Therefore, not only does she have to be agreeable, even the family has to be agreeable. So you'd say the other way. So if we're dealing with after Sinai, so she's the chattel, she's a katana. Yeah, but factually, she's we're still pre Sinai. Therefore, as a result of that, she has to be agreeable and the family has to be agreeable. You have to take the chumrah on both sides. It's interesting. Good. A prospective husband still asked permission from the father. You see, even when he had the right to marry, he interfered. He didn't agree to it. It's interesting. What? I understand that because Leah understood she had to do what her father wanted. Otherwise, she would have had a problem. He would have, who knows, disowned her. Could have sent her into exile. You see, he had no rachmanis on it. That's what did they say afterwards? We're keshvuyas chorev. He treated us like captives. A father normally gives a dowry to his daughter. You had to pay for us. We were like shvuyas chorev. We were like ransomed. It's interesting. There's a famous drashas Aran. There's a drashas Aran says, Avraham Avinu kept kol haTorah kula kodim shenitnu. He kept the whole Torah its entirety. But the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, even the question is it's a weak question. It says Akum sheshavas chad bisa, a non-Jew is not permitted to keep Shabbos. So if that's the case, how did Avraham observe the Shabbos? It'd say he kept the whole Torah its entirety. That's what? No. But still, it would say you have to take the chumrah from both sides, right? It was before Sinai. The question is not a question because it's only because Shabbos was given as a gift to Klal Yisrael. So therefore, at that point, he's not permitted. It's osi beinu beinechem. So Avraham Avinu is before there's a Klal Yisrael, so it's not osi, it's not a gift yet. But that's his question. So he says something interesting. So he says, what's the halacha if a person wears tzitzis that are apostle on Shabbos? You're a violation of Otzah. Because the only reason why tzitzis are considered a tachshit, it's considered like an ornament, because an ornament's the garment, because you're not permitted to wear a four-cornered garment unless you have tzitzis. But if you have tzitzis which are apostle, so they have the strings are considered what you're transporting from domain to domain. So Avram wore the tzitzis with a manoshach. If I'm a Jew, if I'm a Yisrael, it's okay, so I'm observing the Shabbos. If I'm not a Jew, so then what is tzitzis? It's not a tachshit, so I'm a violation of Otzah. So by wearing tzitzis on Shabbos, this is how we covered that he shouldn't be considered Shomer Shabbos. That's the famous answer from the drashas Aran. Okay. Okay. So let's go a little further. It's a lot of important information. You know, the famous, there's a Mishnah Melech who authored a sefer. It's called Derech Pikodecha. Mishnah Melech is a commentary in the Rambam. So he wrote, you know, the argument between Yosef and his brothers. He accused them of Evim Nachai, and what? It was Ben Pekua. Now, Ben Pekua is only permitted to a Jew, not to a non-Jew, according to one position in the Gemara. So Yosef held that their status was B'nai Noach. So if their status is B'nai Noach, then what? Then it's Evim Nachai. They held their status is Yisrael, even though it was pre-Sinai. Once Yaakov's had his children, they're called B'nai Yisrael. They're not called B'nai Noach. They're not Noahites. So if that's the case, once it's a Ben Pekua, it goes through every one of the things in such a manner. What exactly was the status at the time? Were they B'nai Noach, even though it was pre-Sinai, or were they Yisrael? Okay. Bishlam the Rameir, Hainu Dechsiv, Im B'chol Kosei Teilechu. Right? It says, Im B'chol Kosei Teilechu, then what? That you're going to have all the bounty. Then it says, Vim b'chukosai timosu. And if you detest my statutes, then it says all terrible punishment, tragedy will befall you. What do we have to speak about the second side of the equation? See, just the first. So what's the inference if not? That seemingly there's no bounty and there's no what? And there'll be punishment. Same answer. El Reb Chani ben Gamliel lomali. Why? Then you deserving of the ultimate brocha. Neither. Kamash Malon. The Torah says no. Then you're deserving of, God forbid, chas v'sholem, the worst level of tragedy, of punishment. It's interesting. I mean, no. Firstly, there's a more basic question. What's the other side? It says imchuk saitei lechu. Timosu is an extreme, right? That's imchuk saitei lechu. We understand is what you're deserving. So you say imlo b'chu saitei lechu. And if you don't follow my statutes, so what's going to be? So there, I hear it's not punishment. Timosu, you're detesting it. It's like a person he despises the Torah. I mean, is that the other side of the coin? It's seemingly that's not the alternative. It's A or B. It seems like there's an interim position, right? But the Torah speaks about both extremes, right? We say it every day in the Kriya Shema, right? What happens if you stop studying Torah? It says v'startem v'avaratem elihim acherim. Is that what happens? But it seems that is what happens. Correct? We say it every day in the Kriya Shema. If you don't study Torah, you're going to idolatry. That it's a slippery slope. That it could happen almost instantaneously. If you value the Torah to the degree that you're willing to toil for it. If you're not, it's an infringement on my life. All my problems is the Torah, so what happens? So what's the other side of the coin? The other side of the coin is b'chusai timosu. Right? You despise it. Does Art Scroll have any comment on that? Probably not.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a range, and the middle part of the range.
But then the question is not a question. Chusai Timasu, we're talking about something else, right? It's not inferred from the first. If the inference is lo b'chu chusai teilechu, you're right. Timasu is something. It's an extreme, and if you detest my Torah, right? So evidently that is the alter. It's either A or B. That's exactly what we're saying. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There is no middle. There is no middle. Again, I don't. What are you asking specifically?
We're saying, according to the answer the Gemara is given to this challenge to Rabbi Hanina, they're saying you needed the second half because you might say that if you don't do it, you won't get reward, you won't get punishment. But we know that there's no free pass. There's always punishment. And then it comes to you, it comes to
Wait.
There's this thing over your head.
Okay, let's talk about what the Torah says. It says it'll go for 3 or 4 generations. So when is that? Rashi cites the Chazal. That's only if you emulate the negative behavior of that person. Wait. But why? Because just as that person was liable when he violated that area, and you'll be liable, not only will you be liable for your own actions, you'll even receive punishment. But the Torah already stated the liability. The Torah stated the liability for behaving in that manner. Here we're saying from the inference we should infer that if you despise my laws, you'll be deserving of punishment. Where did the Torah say that? The Torah never said it. In that context, if you do the wrong thing, you will be punished. That's explicit. But how do I know if you emulate that type of behavior, not only will you be liable for your own behavior, even for the previous generations, That will go 3 or 4 generations. So that the Torah has to say explicitly.
I'm not coming to I'm that when someone despises the Torah, there is a consequence. It's a negative consequence.
It's not just, no, there the Torah says explicitly. No, this is attitude. No, it's not observance. You despise it. What's the meaning, despise? It's not observing. It's not just not observing. The meaning also means you detest it. You despise it.
Same word is used here.
That what?
The challenge to what it means. That if you will despise my statute.
Correct. Then what? So what do we need that? According to Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, it's inferred from the first. On that he says it's not inferred. Maybe even if you despise, you're not liable. You don't have it. You're not liable for punishment. What you're quoting means, the Torah says explicitly, when you do the wrong thing, you will be punished. Okay? But how do I know you'll be punished to the degree that even you'll carry the liability of the previous generations? So that the Torah has to tell us. Not only will you be liable for your own misbehavior, you will even be liable for the misbehavior of the previous generations. But to what point? Only 3 or 4 generations. Beyond that, if they transgress, it will be for their own, but not for the previous generations.
It's pretty clear that you need to write this all out. You can't just infer one from the other. But if
I'll tell you what my difficulty is. I mean, everything that I mentioned the other day, Moshe Rabbeinu says, "Reinu sadel fanecha achayim v'samovis." There's no in between. There's no neutral ground. Either you're A or you're B. You know, I'll be a neutral Jew. What's a neutral Jew? There's no such thing. You know, a person says either you breathe or you don't breathe. Not breathing means you die, right? That's it. So what do you mean there's an interim? I would think A, you're deserving the ultimate. B, you despise, you shouldn't be liable for what? For punishment. Who ever heard of such a thing? Timosu, you despise my Torah. You won't get reward, but you won't be punished.
that's the how we read what happened in the second. No one would just say, oh,
I have difficulty. Regarding Kayin, I mean, that's in the question. If you already gave the same answer regarding Kayin, what's the question? I mean, the answer is obvious. We just gave the answer, right? So we're asking the same question, giving the same answer. Wait, before we get to the other one, why, if we just answer this, isn't it obvious that this is going to be an answer to the next question? Right? See, the answer is, I differentiate. Cain was not a Jew. Not a Jew, you know, the world is your world. You're special, you deserve more. You fail, okay, there's no claim against you. That's a non-Jew. But a Jew has a greater level of liability. So if that's the case, isn't it inferred from the first side? The second side is inferred. So even for a non-Jew, for a Jew, it's not simply that it's inferred. That's why the second question is a question. The first answer may be not sufficient when we're dealing at post-Sinai. It's a whole different grading system. It's a different evaluation system. Okay. Now quotes another pasuk. Bishlam Rabbeinu Hainu D'Chsivim Sovu Shmatim. It's if you desire and you listen, you'll be worthy of, again, reward. Vim Semanu Urisem. But if you refuse and you defy, it's going to be bitter. See, this question is a question because this is really a repeat from what? This is the same question. If you have an interest in doing the mitzvahs, then it will be good for you. Okay, seems to be that's again. It's why would I say differently? My cherev tochlu. See, it could be the reason why the Gemara answers it because the Gemara wants to introduce this last piece, right? What does it mean? They will eat the sword. You'll eat the sword. Amar Rava milcha. Because we'll see what does it mean. It's going to be bad. You'll have the sword. Sword doesn't mean you're going to be slaughtered. You'll be killed. Amar Rava milcha galin nisa Nahama desari akusho batzli. You'll eat barley bread, hard barley bread with salt. What kind of salt? With coarse salt, not refined salt, and onions. Sounds not bad. We had a few Russians here today. That was our daily fare in Russia, right? Black bread. The omamar pas purni, chareva. We know pas purni is. How does he explain? We had a Gemara Pesachim. What? And Shabbos. No purni. What's pas purni? And the purni was a certain type of oven. Right? Chareva, which is stale. The melach, and he says melach means coarse salt. Ubitzolim, with onions, koshim, luguf, kecharovos. It's actually, it's detrimental to the body as if one would be pierced with a sword. Okay? So when it says, it could be that's the reason. That's the raw. That's the negative. That's going to be a consequence. Hashem says, you'll only have available the diet that will physically destroy you. It'll compromise your health. Okay, we'll talk about that later. Okay. Bishlom Reb Chanina ben Gamliel. Okay, now the Gemara is asking the other way. The other way. Until now, it seemed it supported Reb Meir that you have to speak out the second side of the condition. But now it seems to be from here that the inference is sufficient. From inference, we're able to understand the second side. What's the halach? The Torah says that the woman's a suspected adulteress, and she claims her innocence. So and the husband's interested in continuing a relationship. So Torah says he takes his wife to the Kohen, and he adjures her with an oath. And he says many things to her. And he says to her, Im lo shochav ish osoch, vim lo sotis tachas ishech. If a man did not lie with you, and you did not commit adultery while you were with your husband, married, hinoki, then you will be vindicated. By drinking the water, you'll be vindicated. Seemingly, at that point, it should say, and if factually you did commit adultery, then it's chinki. You'll be strangulated. Meaning, Elo le Rebbe, chinki mi boile. It should say chinki. Why did you say hinoki? So according to the mayor, that there's an inference, you'll be vindicated. If not, you can hear the music, so to say. Okay, so here it's not so simple, because later it does say, it says explicitly in the pasuk that if you commit adultery, it has to do the two things. There's the two oaths. One oath accompanies the curse, and the other oath doesn't accompany the curse. It should say vindicated or not vindicated. Omrab Tanchum, hinoki ksiv. Hinoki is writ. Hinoki should have a yud in it. So since it's written with the yud deleted, it's read chinki. Meaning, so that is alluding to the consequence, to the second side. Right. Bishlam Ramin Hainu Dechsiv Hintki, Hinoki. So according to Rameir, it's very good. The reason Hinoki is written with the yud deleted to allude to the fact that, to the consequence. Elo Reb Chanina ben Gamliel lomali itzrich. So kedai techamino im shoch lo shach avish osoch im lo shach avish hinok v'shach lo hinok v'lo chintki elishur balmo. Meaning there's not going to be any negative consequence. Meaning you're not permitted to. Meaning you won't be vindicated. Kamash Malon. Okay.
So now that there is a
No, because I would think the same thing.
even though it's not written as that, you're going to translate the word as there has to be a literal other sentence.
No, it doesn't. As long as something alludes to what I mean on the second side. The difference is, do we say inference is sufficient, or you need more than inference? Right. The word hinoki written with the yud deleted, that's more than inference. That's it telling me strangulation. She's going to choke. But it's written without the yud. Why? It's not inferred. That's not called inferred. That's not inferred. Inferred means from the positive, the negative is inferred. From the negative, the positive is inferred. If you do this, yes. If not, the inference is that. Hinoki is not an inference. That the Torah deletes the yud, that means it could be read like chinki. We know hey and ches are interchangeable. So how do we know in this context it's interchangeable? Because the Torah is deleting the yud that should be read as if there would be a ches. That's not inference. So that the Gemara says, according to Reb Chanina and Gamliel, so the Gemara answers, because I would say the inference is not sufficient here, right? Because I'd say she's forbidden she's an adulteress. So it tells it's much more than adulteress. She's going to die. Bishlom the Rebbe Hainu D'Chsiv Hu Yischato. Now, what's the halacha if a person comes in contact with contamination of the dead? It's not enough to go to the mikveh. You have to sprinkle the water and the ash of paradum on the person when? On the third and on the seventh day. On the third. Let's say a person would sprinkle it on the first and second day. It's meaningless. Torah says specifically the third and seventh day. Correct? What about the third and the sixth day? Also not good. You have to have that interim period between the first and second sprinkling. So it says, Hu yischatebo biyom hashlishi biyom hashvi yitor. When will he be purified? If the sprinkling is on the third and the seventh day, then it says, lo yischato, and if you don't sprinkle on the third and seventh day, then it's low. Isn't that understood? It's clear. You're only purified, it says. If it's what? It says hu yitor. And if not, lo yitor. So is that, according to Reb Chanina ben Gamliel, this is clearly, it's definitely inferred that you're not Torah. What do I need the second? The second statement seemingly could be fully inferred from the first statement. David, you following? Okay. Itzrich, I need the second statement. Means the mitzvah, the way to do it correctly is on the third and the seventh day. Okay. Right? But I'd say, if you did it even on one of them, also it would be sufficient. B'di'ovad. The mitzvah is to do it this way. Because it's... I'd say that's only, without saying the second statement, I'd say it's a mitzvah. The optimum way to do it is third and seventh. But even if you did on one, it's enough. Kamashmalan. Samar says, "V'hiza Torah la tomei biyom hashlishi biyom hashvi." But continue. This question has nothing to do with Reb Chanina and Gamliel. It says it already said both sides, both according to Reb and according to Reb Chanina ben Gamliel. So then it says, "V'hiza Torah la tomei biyom hashlishi biyom hashvi." You will sprinkle on the contaminated person Torah la tomei on the third and seventh day. But that's totally superfluous, because we already spoke out both sides of the equation. Both according to Rameir and according to Reb Chanina ben Gamliel. So what do we need the third and the seventh? Itzrich. I'd say the third day comes to exclude, it has to be minimally the third, not the second day. Shvi lemuti shishi. You can't do it too soon. That's what I would think. The kamamite may tyra, because if you do soon, there's not enough of time which has transpired. Right? So I'd say, third day, not the second day. The seventh day, not the sixth day. What about if you want to do it the third and the eighth? Right? The third and the eighth. Where you have a longer period has transpired. Maybe then it wouldn't be a problem. Right? You can't do it earlier, but maybe later, yes. Kamash malon v'chito b'yom hashvi. V'chito. Right. It's not valid. Nothing. You have to start over again. You have to start over. Right. Correct. Okay, we'll stop here today.